Good evening. It is 6:35, and I'd like to call the meeting of the Urban Design Commission to order. May we have a roll call?
Nicole Ream,
Here.
Monica Sullivan,
Here.
Edith Mckee, Allison Gordy,
Here.
Julia Folan,
Here.
Mark Cox.
Here.
Commissioners Cash and Nanalo are excused. You have a quorum.
Thank you. May we get a motion to approve the minutes from April 13th? Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Gordy and a second from Commissioner Cox. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Seeing no one's requested to speak, we must vote. Can we? Because I've been confused by that. That's what we did in the past, and we were told to vote. So I'm going to just consent that the meeting minutes are approved as it. Okay, minutes are approved.
Point of order, Madam Chair. Just so everyone knows, the back rear projector is not working, so you're all going to have to look over your shoulder or look behind you. Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry, one other point of information. It should also show up on current items. If you hit current items on your screen, that it should tell you the resulting votes and who made the motion.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to special order of business. Are there any disclosures this evening? Seeing no one's requested to speak, I will assume there are no disclosures. The second item on the agenda is the annual election of officers. We can choose to do this now or at the end. There's no one here from public, but staff is here, so I don't know if we want to, if we think this will be quick, we can do it now.
We should do it now. Otherwise, don't we have to make a motion to amend the agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just do it now.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to the annual election of officers. Commissioner Mckee, would you like to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion that Commissioner Rem remain the chairperson.
I would like to second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Commissioner Mckee and a second from Commissioner Sullivan. Would you care to speak to your motion?
I would. I believe that we have several new members on the board, and due to our recent training, I believe that it is in the best interest of the board that Commissioner Rem remain in her position.
Thank you. Do you want to speak to your second, Commissioner?
No, I concur with Edith, Commissioner.
Okay. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Sorry. Okay, seeing as nobody wants to speak, may we have a vote to retain myself as chair?
That's funny.
Not yet.
Sure.
I abstain, right? Okay, that motion passes. I will remain the chair. We have another election. We need a motion for vice chair.
I would like to make a motion to have Edith Mckee stay as a vice chair because I think it will be a great candidate to be the next chair.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Folan, do we have a second? And I think you already spoke to your motion. Would you like to speak?
I concur with
Okay, thank you.
Monica.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to retain Commissioner Mckee as the vice chair. Can we get a vote?
we're missing a step.
True. So that motion fails. Okay, so is there another motion on the floor? I'm not sure what to do at this point. We may have to move this, postpone this. Can I ask staff, do you know? Till we have a quorum, more...
Chair Ream, I believe there has to be a motion for someone to be the vice chair. I honestly am not 100% certain if there's no motion for the vice chair, if the current vice chair would just stay in her position or not.
Okay.
I'm honestly not certain on that.
Okay. Neither am I. Okay.
Yeah, you could postpone if we're uncertain at this point, and unless anyone else wants to bring forward a motion, I would recommend postponing so we could look into what happens if there's no motion, I guess.
Okay.
She is calling you right now. Barbara, are you there? I don't think we can either.
Okay, I'm going to move to...
I'll move to postpone it to the next meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Folland. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, we are the annual elections have been postponed till the June 2022 meeting. Okay, so we have a motion to postpone the election. I'm just going to breathe here for a second. We have a motion on the floor to postpone the elections till June 8th, 2022. Do we need to vote? This is really distracting.
You can vote for yourself. You don't have to abstain from voting for yourself
Oh, really?
for an election.
Well, then I vote for myself.
And then it passes.
And then it passes.
Okay, so we have some clarification for elections. It appears that we do not have to abstain from voting for ourselves when being nominated. So we must go back, if we wish, to go back to those election motions. So right now, we have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Cox, seconded by Commissioner Gordy, to postpone the election of officers to of the vice chair to June 8th. Can we get a vote? Okay, that motion fails. So that means we do need to vote on the vice chair this evening. Do we have to do a motion to amend the previous motion, or does it? No. Okay. Okay. So we have back on the floor a motion to retain Commissioner Mckee as vice chair. The motion has been moved by Commissioner Folland and seconded by Commissioner Sullivan. Would you care to speak to your motion? No. That's a no.
I think the reason why I think she should stay in as a vice chair is because it's important that it's always the person that is next in the chair just because they get the experience by being a vice chair, and she's been waiting her turn. And by keeping Nicole in place, I think she deserves to stay in her place so she can be the chair next time. And she's ready, and trained. That's why.
Thank you for that. Is there any other discussion, or can we move to a vote? I say we move to a vote. That motion passes. Commissioner Mckee is retained as the vice chair. Sorry about all of that confusion. So we are moving on to, I think, the informational item, and we don't have the petitioner. Does that mean we just review this information and talk amongst ourselves if we wish?
Chair Reed, yes, that's correct. So the agenda item, it's the informational item, the 1% for art, public art selection, Faces of History. Gideon is the staff member who oversees the 1% for art. He's not in attendance tonight, so the commission can review this as an informational item. There's no action to take. I am actually a member of the Public Art Committee, so I'm somewhat familiar with this, but I don't know if I have much to add other than what is in the informational packet that describes the art piece. The art piece is Faces of History, and there's 2 panels. There's locations that would be on the wall as you enter the building, and then on the adjacent wall for the Fairview Recreation Center indoor playground. As there's no action for the commission to take, if any commissioners have comments to make, they can do so at this time. Otherwise, you can move to the next agenda item when you're ready.
Thank you for the clarification. Is there anyone who wishes to speak or have any comments? Commissioner Mckee?
I guess this is a question for staff. Do you know if the art will have placards that explain who the people are and their relevance to the community?
Commissioner Mckee, I do not know, but I can write that question down and make sure that a response gets back to the commission.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sullivan?
I think it's a pretty safe piece of art. That's what we should take a look. It's Class A fire rating. Probably that's the requirements for the interiors of the building. And, just secure them right to the wall. That's it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the art? Okay. We'll move on with our agenda items. Looks like we have the consent agenda. We have a resolution for approval 2022-003, related case 2022-0012. May we have a motion to approve the item on the consent agenda? We have a motion from Commissioner Sullivan. And a second from Commissioner Gordy. Would anyone like to pull the item from the agenda or discuss this for corrections? Seeing none, the consent agenda is approved. Unfinished business and actions of public hearings. We have item 1, which is case 2022-0024, major site plan review for Inlet View Elementary School, and the petitioner is the Anchorage School District. During our March meeting, a motion was passed to renew this case for public hearing, to move it to June 8th, 2022, and we've received a request from the petitioner to extend this to September. Does staff wish to speak to this request?
Yes, thank you, Chair Ream. Yes, at the April meeting, the Commission renewed case 2022-0024. They set the public hearing for June. There's a request to postpone the case to the September 14th Urban Design Commission meeting. The Anchorage School District requested this to facilitate public participation, as this would avoid a summer public hearing date. The Planning Department has no objection to the postponement. The memorandum also references code for common procedures for postponements. An applicant can request postponement of their case for any reason, and we received the notice before public notice was sent for this hearing. The department recommends the following motion of the UDC for the postponement. We recommend that the Commission postpone the public hearing for the case to the September 14th meeting, and that verbal and written testimony from the March 9th public hearing is incorporated into the staff report for the case, I should say the renewal of the case, and that public hearing notices for the September 14th postponement meeting would allow the public to testify or provide written comments regardless of previous testimony or comments. That is the end of my staff comments on this memorandum.
Thank you. Okay, sounds like we need to have a motion, and I think Commissioner Mckee is set to do that. So Commissioner Mckee will make the motion. Commissioner Folland will second the motion.
I make a motion to postpone case 2022-0024 to the September 14th, 2022 UDC meeting. Public and written testimony from the March 9th, 2022 meeting will be incorporated into the staff report. Public hearing notices will be mailed, allowing the public to testify or provide written comments, regardless of previous testimony or comments.
Thank you for that. Would you care to speak to that motion, Commissioner Mckee?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Folland?
No, but I do have some questions.
Okay. So you can ask some questions.
So when they come in front of us in September, are they resubmitting new work, or is it the exact same 65% design that we saw last time, or is it something new?
I don't think, yeah, I'll let staff answer that one.
Through the chair, Commissioner Folland, it's a renewal of the existing case, so there's no new application. So the materials submitted would be the same. There will be a new staff report. The petitioner could submit additional information. I don't know if they're planning to do so or not. So it would be the same application plus whatever additional information we receive from the petitioner.
Did that answer your questions? Okay. Are there other questions?
Madam Chair. So my question, well, I haven't.
Yes, please make sure to use your request to speak button. Okay, we'll go ahead and speak. Commissioner Cox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I guess my question would be, with no additional changes from their 65% design for case 2022-0024, it looks like with this motion, giving the opportunity for more testimony to be given, which is great, but we're also giving people the opportunity who have testified before to continue testifying again. Is that correct? So they could have a new testimony as well as qualify their old one?
Yes, Commissioner Cox, that's correct. So we would incorporate the previous testimony that could be incorporated into the new staff report, and then since it's a renewal, it's not a reconsideration, it's a renewal, so then it would allow people to testify again even if their previous testimony had been incorporated.
With the volume of testimony that we've gotten previous and somewhat of the show that we had prior to, do we see this being able to be done in one meeting?
If Commissioner Cox, if that's a question for staff, I honestly don't know. It would depend on how many people show up to testify in person versus providing written testimony. It could potentially last more than one meeting. I honestly do not know.
Okay, that concludes my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Commissioner Follen?
So do we know if they are...
Microphone.
Do we know if they're planning, or would we be aware of the schedule for outreach over the community, or like, I mean, it sounds like they're planning to do additional outreach to the community over the summer, right? And all of that additional information will come back to us. And you're going to revise the report.
Yes, so Commissioner Folland, there would be a revised staff report. I cannot confirm the concrete plans of the Anchorage School District. They're allowed to submit additional information, and they heard the commissioners' deliberations and the public comments from the case that resulted in a denial. So they're aware of what was discussed for that. I do not know their plans for the renewal case.
Okay.
And I don't know if this clarifies anything, but it does say on our memo from Dave Whitfield that it will facilitate public participation. So they are looking to increase that on both sides. Are there any other questions?
This is simple. Are we allowed to assist to that community involvement? Like if I figure out where it's going to be, can I go and see it? Is that legal or not?
Or I suppose through the chair, Commissioner Sullivan, no, it's like any other case where the commissioners would not discuss the case outside of the public hearing.
Well, I would just listen.
If you feel whatever activity you're involved with would not be ex parte contact, that would be fine. But if it's providing you with information about the case that other commissioners would not have, then I would advise you against that because it could be a resulting ex
Okay.
parte contact.
No. We'll take it as a no.
Good question.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. I guess now we just need to vote. Is that where we're at? I'm lost now. I think we are ready to vote. And that passes. I think that concludes our official business this evening. Is there any other comment from the commissioners? We're going to teach. Thank you, Commissioner Cox, for that. Please speak.
There's a million ways to skin a cat. So my previous experience, or I guess current experience with boards, I recognize that the board composition, it's kind of a social science where you have the new people that come into a group, and if you don't know the norms of the group, sometimes they become, what do you call it, outcasted. So I would like to explain my vote as to why I said nay for the vice chair, Commissioner Mckee. It's not the sense of, it seems the group is definitely for you being the next chair. I've practiced that the more diversity, and diversity isn't just the ethnic makeup, but diversity of experiences to be in boards actually helps out a whole board, because all of us need to be able to learn how to do these things, whether you want to continue being in commissions or not. So I just wanted to explain that before the board.
Does anyone else have anything to add?
No, maybe it was not a doubt that you, I mean, I know that you do have some experience. It's just the fact that the idea is that everyone tries, because then we become a better board. And we have been sitting her in the vice chair for a long time, so that's what I think it's fair that she moves forward with, because she's been waiting for her turn. But yeah, nothing against you. It's just that, that's how I feel. I don't know other people.
If I can just make a quick thought. I think there's really not a very fair way to become chair or vice chair without just going through the motions of everybody doing it. And the vice chair's role coming into the chair only makes sense to keep moving that conveyor along. So then the next vice chair with Edith would become the chair after that. And it's a fair process in my mind. That's totally an opinion, but I believe that it's a fair process to bring the people in as they move on, rather than just kind of jumping around. It's just more organized in my mind, but that's just my opinion. Yeah. Push your button. I'm kidding.
And just to clarify to you, I haven't been sitting in this position for an extended duration. I was, the person who was vice chair rescinded their position mid-term, and I filled it in a temporary mode, so I've only been sitting in the position for a very short duration. Right. It's only been, I think, 4 or 5 meetings.
Anyone else? Okay, I think that concludes this evening's agenda, and we get a motion to adjourn.
I would like to motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
I will second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox and Commissioner Sullivan. Meeting is adjourned.